Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Another episode where we are going to share how to be an entrepreneur, how to be a mom, and how to juggle them both together. Today, I have with us Emily Guerra, and she is going to talk to us about productivity. And she actually is the founder of Productivity Flow. So Emily, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to have this conversation. Firstly, my name is Emily. As you said, I am the founder of the Productivity Flow. I am also a certified productivity life coach. A lot of people know what a productivity coach is. A lot of people know what a life coach is. Not a lot of people know what a productivity life coach is. So basically, I just mesh the two. I help self-employed women overcome different mindset hurdles and optimize their systems and tools so that way they can actually boost productivity every single day and ultimately achieve that dream work from home lifestyle that they have always thought of. So that's what I do as an overarching theme. And then in the day-to-day, I coach my clients, I write blogs, I offer a lot of free tools through my blogs, I do text messages with bite-sized tips and tricks. And then I also do some public speaking.
That is a lot.
Yeah, it is, but I love it.
That's fantastic. Well, tell us, what are some of the things that you find your clients get stuck in a rut about?
Honestly, an overarching one that I think so many mompreneurs can really relate to is just work-life balance as a whole in general, and balancing, the kids' schedule with their own entrepreneurship schedule, with their self-care schedule, and with everything, all the fun stuff that's supposed to happen in between. How do you actually do it all? And do you have to do it all? So those are some of the things that I really love coaching mompreneurs in, because I feel like that is such a foundational issue, but also once you transform it, it's so amazing how gaining that control back can be really life-changing.
So do you find, because entrepreneurs, they kind of have the squirrel method where let's try this, and let's try this, and let's try this. And so
Totally.
You end up taking on either too many programs that you're like learning, or you end up trying to do too many things, and so what is, when you start working with a client, what do you find is the biggest issue? Is that one of them or not?
I think a lack of priorities is kind of also what you're talking about there, because it is like shiny object syndrome. I feel like we all kind of suffer from, and like, let's get it all done in less time. Oh, this is going to help me do that. And maybe this will help me do that. And it's about, actually understanding, number one, what it is that you're trying to optimize and make simpler and streamline, and then how to go about it in the best way. And then focusing on that as your priorities and eliminating a lot of the pressure that we put on ourselves. So yeah, I think, really misunderstanding priorities is a very big hurdle.
That's a good point. And I think a lot of times because you get so down into it and you start to get into the rut of everything, that you look at your day and you're busy, right?
Yep.
But what have you accomplished and how much money?
Exactly. Exactly. It's so funny that you brought that up, because the definition of productivity or being productive literally just means getting a lot done. So you can get a lot done and feel busy all day long, but are you getting the right stuff done?
Right.
That's really what productivity should be about, efficiency and effectiveness within your priorities, within your goals, and within what matters most. But it's about understanding what matters most. And that's kind of the step that we so often skip because we are in a rush.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, just yesterday, my son had his very last track meet. Okay, I haven't even been able to watch a single one because he's only competed in 2. And he's like, oh yeah, Mom, I already raced, or oh, I already did this. I'm like, wow. So I mean, cleared the schedule yesterday. Tell me when it is. And I sat there the whole time and camped out because it was his last one. He's graduating, and I'm not going to miss it. So I'm like, without phone, and tons of calls, all the whole time I was there. And I just thought, you know what, you can wait.
Exactly. I think a good, sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead.
I think a good way to kind of analyze in the moment, the way that you just did, is asking yourself, like, is this genuinely an emergency or can it wait 24 hours? If it can wait 24 hours, then it's not a priority at this point in time. What is my part? And like asking yourself that question and taking that pause and that moment to not just rush into things, but to actually be intentional and mindful with it. That I feel like is such a good tip and so easy to implement, but it's also so easy to forget to do, right? So it's just about being a little bit more aware and intentional of when you feel the need to rush and get more done and ask yourself, okay, is this actually like really that urgent?
Yeah. And I think one more to add to that is when you have so many balls up in the air, because we kind of talked before, and some of the things that are going on in my life. And it's like, okay, so I mean, I have clients that are referring me to their friends and things, but for things that have nothing to do, like one lady wants me to help her sell a whole bunch of stuff of her mom's because her mom's passed away, right? I'm like, okay, so let me do the math. How much money? A couple $100 versus I go sell a home, that's a big difference. So
Totally.
is it really worth my time? And I used to try to help everybody out and do everything for everyone. And now it's getting to the point where it's like, no, you can't. Who can I delegate that to? Who could use that money? And so it's like, yes, I don't want to tell her no. So let me find somebody that can help you instead of,
what I think you said that's so important is how can I delegate it or how can I pass it along to someone else that is maybe excited, wants this opportunity, would enjoy it a lot more. So asking yourself those questions like, do I have to do this or can I pass it along? And it doesn't have to be just work things that you pass along either. It could be like cleaning your home or helping with meal prep or maybe even carpooling and helping, other students get to school as well. And just things like that, getting creative with those kind of solutions is really, really key to not feel that pressure that we can so self-impose on ourselves.
Is true, because I'm one of those that loves to have so many balls up in the air, but when the balls start dropping, which they've never done before, then it's like, okay, I don't have my best foot forward anymore and I'm doing a disservice to my clients. And so that's why I was so happy to have you on, because it is so important. You talk about routines. Do you think routines are a good thing or are they a bad thing?
I think routines are the best thing ever. And a lot of people kind of argue with me on that because they say that they love the flexibility and they love the freedom of not having a routine. But I argue that having a routine actually allows for even more flexibility and even more freedom because then you know when you're available and when you're not available. And it's not a guess. And you know what your bandwidth is and what your scope is. And if you kind of don't know that, but just want to agree to something, but then you feel overwhelmed later on because you didn't get your priorities done, a routine can really help you streamline that whole process. So that way you can decide, is this something that I have time for and that I really want to, or that I want to make time for, or is this a distraction? And so a routine is so key in helping you go through the daily flow with control.
Amen. I used to be one of those that I hated a routine. I wouldn't, I fought it and I fought it and I fought it. I remember signing up with a coach once and she's all about, okay, you need to map out your entire day. I'm like, I refuse, right?
So common.
I have succumbed because of the fact that, and then there's moms that are like, they're scheduled a month out. I'm like, okay, you are anal and you are over, like, that is just too much. And then I realized, okay, I still don't schedule a month out, but I respect them now. Whereas I used to think that they were ridiculous because it does give you some time, like, okay, I have this much time of free time, or I have this, or I have this. And so you kind of know what to expect. Whereas if you don't set a schedule, then you're working all the time and you don't have any boundaries and then you get burnout. And I think that that's something that, especially because I've been training for this marathon, that you have to schedule out time and you have to schedule out different things. And so a routine, I actually enjoy it now. And when people are like, hey, Charisse, can you do this? I'm like, I got to check my calendar. Like, I don't agree to anything anymore until I check my calendar. So
I love that.
Completely changed. I am reformed.
And what I also love about routine is that you can actually like schedule in free time and schedule in that flexibility that if you're scared to lose it, then just add it to your routine, make it a part of your weekly schedule. And personally, I love doing 2 weeks out. That's my my best spot right there. But I know of a lot of people who do either a month out, and I'm always so impressed because I feel like life just changes, and like things happen and things come up. But, more power to you.
I know. And those that, with this podcast, people are scheduling 2 months out. And so then it's like, I don't even know what's going on in 2 months, but now I do. Because like, I have my blocks of time that I interview people. So, do you believe in work-life balance? Do you believe
I do in the sense, I believe it's a choice.
Okay.
I don't think it comes naturally with, for so many reasons that we've been talking about so far, but also just especially as entrepreneurs, I feel like the grind is so ingrained in the entrepreneurial mindset that as business owners, if we can feel like if we're not working or if we're not moving forward in some way, then we're losing money. And that pressure, Zoom agrees.
I know.
But that pressure can really lead us to not value balance or rest or self-care as much as we value work. Right. And it's really important to understand that, rest, self-care, and taking breaks and letting yourself recharge and recoup is being productive. Right. Because it allows you to actually act more productively when you get back into the work grind. And so having that balance is not a natural balance. It's all about choices and being intentional and following a routine and scheduling it into your life. And, there's some shifts that you have to make in order to get that work-life balance that you're looking for. And that's why my motto is 1%. Just make 1% shifts at a time every week. And pretty soon you will feel that balance there that was missing before.
I agree. And I think it's hard to differentiate because I hear the 1% rule sometimes, but for me, it's like 15 minutes, and what I love is my kitchen used to be a mess, right? Before we moved, it was this tiny, tiny little thing. So it was hard with 8 people living there to even have any room.
I bet.
There's not as many living here now, so it's a little easier. We have a much larger kitchen, but I think that it's become this habit, right? And so for me, it's the 15-minute rule because it takes 2 minutes to unload a dishwasher. It takes maybe 5 minutes to load it, and then you wipe off the counters and you're done. So in less than 15 minutes, my kitchen's clean every day. So before it was always a mess and I would hate it. And now you are welcome to come over any day because it's always clean. And that is a habit that I have worked towards for a while, but with a routine and like, you just don't go to bed if the dishes aren't done, like period, end of story. Right. So it's things like that. And I think also when you're talking about it, I used to not ever sleep 3 to 4 hours a night. That's all I needed. And then you start this routine of getting back into health, whatever. And it's like, oh no, my body needs to rejuvenate. So this little sleep coach thing on my watch. And so I look forward to, okay, did I get my 7 hours today? Oh, I got to go back to sleep. Or what type of quality sleep did I get? Right. Yeah. And so I think that for people that you talk about rejuvenation, sleep is an important thing that huge. People sometimes disregard. And the last couple of nights when I've been fighting this stupid infection that comes and goes and comes and goes. And I'm like, I need more sleep. Okay, now I agree. Sleep
is we don't think of it as self-care. We really don't. We kind of think of it. Oftentimes I know I can get annoyed at the fact that I have to go to sleep, which is wild if you actually take a step back and think about it. But I was like you in the sense that I could never sleep for more than 3 to 4 hours at a time. I would always wake up after 3 hours. I even went through a period of having really harsh night sweats, which did not help me staying asleep. And so it just was like a battle. And I took a lot of intentional steps to readjust my sleep schedule and to just also readjust my own internal clock and to manage my energy a little bit better. And what I learned is that it actually starts when you wake up in the morning, and it's really about how your day goes. And then it's also about setting yourself up for sleep, meaning having a sleep environment. So only using your bed for sleep and not working in your bed or watching TV in your bed, and starting to turn out the lights around an hour before sleep time. So that way your circadian rhythm doesn't register sunlight, which it does when we look at lights above, in the ceiling, for example. So like helping yourself in those small ways is actually a great way to just help yourself get to bed. Because I feel like that honestly can be such a big challenge. I know it was my challenge for sure.
Mhm.
So I found that doing those, just how you said, like the 15-minute routine, the 1% changes, doing those every single day, committing to them and being intentional with them, that's really the key to not just changing your sleep, but changing any kind of habit.
Right. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast I know about sleep.
Exactly.
Okay. So you've mentioned a few of them, but what are your favorite time management strategies?
So my ultimate favorite time management strategy is time blocking. I actually think it is so empowering. I personally use cube timers. I actually have them right
I was going to
here.
ask you if you had that. Is that the
Yes.
Pomodoro or is it not?
Yeah, exactly. The Pomodoro technique, where
Yeah.
it's about 25 minutes on, 10 to 15 minutes off. Of course, you can change that up. I personally love doing 30 minutes on and then 10 minutes off, or I'll do an hour on and then 15 to 20 minutes off, just depending on the task that I have at hand. But I love using my cube timers. So let's say I'm doing an hour block, I'll set 60-minute timer. And let's say I have a couple of tasks to do within that hour block. I then use my like 10-minute timer to time block within my time block. And so it really helps you, number one, overcome perfectionism and actually just continue working and not getting lost in the details because you're timing yourself. You're like, okay, I want to get this done by the time this timer is over. And that means no perfectionism for me. So I got to do it. So that little bit of urgency right there has helped me actually finish my to-do list before I want to finish it. And it's been so incredibly effective and also just constantly moving forward and making sure that I do get my priorities done.
I love that. One of my coaches, she talks about how it's 16 hours of additional work that you can get done if you use that technique. Will you show us that block? Because I interrupted you. And so
got my two little timers. So I got 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then 15 on this one. And then I got 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and 1 minute on this one. And you just like flip them over and then it starts the clock and then it'll beep when it's done. And then you just flip it back. You can find a ton of them on Amazon. They're really affordable and so useful. And you know what? Kids love them too.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Which is, I always use them with my little siblings, my nephew. We always use timers. And these ones are just so easy for them to do it. And it gives them a little bit of ownership. So let's say you want like, okay, playtime is done in 5 minutes. Okay. Like let's set a 5-minute timer together to show that playtime is done. So when this timer goes off, you know that playtime is done. And like that's been taking that ownership has been really helpful, at least with my siblings and my nephew, in actually following the routine that we have set out for ourselves.
I love that. And especially because a few of my kids have ADD, which I hated that title, but I've embraced the fact that it's a real thing. I've fought it for several years with my older kids, but oh my gosh, my youngest cannot focus. And so it's something like that where I'm like, is the timer gone off yet? No. Okay, keep working.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your work done.
No, and I actually was not diagnosed with my ADHD until after I graduated from college.
Wow.
And so I went through all of school not being able to focus and wondering why I wasn't able to focus. And doing timers really helped me in like at the library, just getting, you know, especially in college when it's really all on your own, it really helped me in just staying focused, staying aligned and powering through.
I love that. Yeah. Yep. It was kids that can stare at a computer for hours upon hours. And I'm like, okay, what'd you get done? Nothing. What have you been doing?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So tell us, if you were, talking to somebody who's really struggling with trying to balance, what would you recommend? What would you suggest to them?
First, I always suggest actually getting a bird's eye view of how you're spending your time right now. So that means tracking your week and just taking maybe 5 minutes every couple of hours to write some bullets about what you have done that day, how long those things have taken, and how it affected your energy and your mindset. Like, did it really drain you, or did it actually make you excited and give you a little bit more energy? And understanding your energy momentum throughout the day and throughout the week is really helpful in helping you actually align your routine and schedule. So that way you don't try to do things when you have your least energy. That to me is really, really important and a big part of boosting your productivity in both work and personal life. So always start with tracking your week and then review it. Get some awareness and understand what your starting point is. Don't judge yourself. Don't be upset by what you find. Just be like, you know what? This is what happened, and I'm going to own it. I'm going to look for some areas that I can improve, and I'm going to start with the first 1%. What is something that I really want to change? Let me just focus on that right now until that becomes a habit. Okay, what's the next thing? And then just continue with that process. It's actually going to take a lot less time than you think if you can stay committed and intentional. I know I've said those two words a lot this episode, but I feel like those are just such powerful words and really embody what it means to take that balance back.
Yeah, I love that. And it is so true. And it's important to say, don't lie to yourself. You don't need to lie to yourself. Like, you don't need to pad the books and say, well, I really got this done. Like, nobody's going to look at it. Just be honest.
It's just for you. Exactly. Yeah. Nobody else is looking at this. And honestly, awareness is power. So don't deny yourself that power. Just empower yourself to own it and to be like, yeah, this is what happened and this is how I'm going to improve.
Right. No, I love that. Okay. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they find you?
You can find me at theproductivityflow.com. You can also find me at The Productivity Flow on both TikTok and Instagram.
Thank you so much, Emily. And for all of those unbreakable mompreneurs out there who are having a hard time, commitment and intention are your 2 words for the day. Go make it a great day. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.
Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.